Welcome, everyone, to the Reading Writing Corner non-spoiler review of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Brent. I am your host, Leanne. What made me read this book? My mother brought me this book while she was visiting Savannah. The blurb about this book. So, what you can find about this, it's not a series. It's just an internationally best-selling nonfiction book by a guy who went to Savannah to write about Savannah. Here is the official blurb of the book. Shots rang out in Savannah's grandest mansion in the misty early morning hours of May 2nd, 1981. 7 years before I was born. Was it murder or self-defense? For nearly a decade, the shooting and its aftermath reverberated throughout this hauntingly beautiful city of moss-hung oaks and shadowed squares. John Brent sharply observed, suspenseful and witty narrative reads like a thorough, engrossing novel, and yet it is a work of non-fiction. John skillfully interweaves a hugely entertaining first-person account of life in this isolated remnants of the Old South with the unpredictable twists turn of a landmark murder case. It is a spellbinding story, people by a gallery of remarkable characters, the well-bred society ladies of the Married Women's Card Club, the turbulent young redneck gigolo, a hapless recluse who owns a bottle of poison so powerful it could kill every man, woman, and child in Savannah, the aging and profane Southern belle who is the soul of pampered self-absorption, the uproariously funny black drag queen, the acerbic and arrogant antiques dealer, the sweet-talking piano-playing con artist, young blacks dancing the minuet at the Black Dumpeton Ball, and Minerva, the voodoo priestess who works her magic in the graveyard at midnight. These and other Savannians act as a Greek chorus, and with John revealing the alliances, hostilities, and intrigues that thrive in a town where everyone knows everyone else. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is a sublime and seductive reading experience. Brilliantly conceived and masterfully written, this enormously engaging portrait of a man of a most beguiling southern city has become a modern classic. I'm not sure what else could be said that would not spoil it. The book is about certain people living their lives in Savannah. The author interacts with several people over the course of days, weeks, months for his curious mind. He learns about them, hears the gospel, and speaks to many about their lives. Joe Odom, one of the people who wanted the book to turn into a movie so he could play himself. This is a movie now. I don't know if Joe Odom ever played himself in the movie or not, but it is. This is a non-fiction with no real plot but to show off Savannah and those that live there during the time the author had visited the place. Basically, it all revolved around the murder. The genre is, of course, non-fiction. The people within act the way humans act because they were all real people that lived and died or will die one day in Savannah. I don't know if any of them are still alive, but probably majority of them are. Did this live up to my expectations? It was okay. I'm not a big fan of nonfiction works. Just not. Which character to relate to the most? I did not relate to any of the people mentioned within the book because, for one, I'm not Savannian, so I don't think I could ever relate to anybody who lives in Savannah in any way, shape, or form. And because none of them seemed like something I would do or act. This was told from the perspective of the author as he interviewed those he met in Savannah. That's basically all it was, the author, John. His POV. I'm going to end the non-spoiler part of this review with, should you go and read this story or watch the movie? If you want to read about real people from Savannah, read it. There's also a movie that has been made from it. Watch it if you want it. If you want to. That's my recommendation. If you don't like non-fiction like I mean, avoid it. If you want to watch the movie but not read the book, go ahead. Sure, it's good. I've not watched the movie and I have no plans to because, like I said, I don't really like non-fiction stuff. If you think I deserve your like, comment, or even your lovely subscription before you jizz out of here so you don't see the spoiler review, you can go ahead and drop it down below if you want to see more or if you just feel like it. Doesn't matter to me. And welcome everybody who is a spoiler in their hearts. I love having those spoilers reviewed for you. This is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. There is only one point of view from the author, as he visited upon people to learn about who they were and what they did in Savannah. And there is a lot more than the characters I'm going to talk about, but these are the ones that showed up the most, that had the most important roles to play. Minerva, who is a voodoo lady who was contracted by John and Jim Williams, who I'll speak about in a minute, to see what happened, what really happened. Okay, Jim Williams is a rich person who was accused of killing a worker of his, and it looked like the police officers at the time were incompetent, because when John wrote everything about the murder happened, they couldn't tell whether or not it had been staged or if anything had been moved or anything like that. So they couldn't tell if it was self-defense or if it was just straight up murder. Joe Odom, he's a house squatter, piano playing con artist, and he was really good at his job. Danny Hansdord, he worked for Jim. He was the one that was murdered by Jim. So we don't really have too much going on him, because by the time the book actually officially happens, the murder's already happened, and Williams is just talking about how he was in and out of jail for it and everything. Chabalis, I think I said her name wrong. Oh yeah, she's a transgendered woman, and she was a drag queen. I've got nothing else to say about that. So my favorite person was Joe Odom, who did what he wanted, a squatter that lived life to the fullest. I mean, like, he did not let life get him down. Every time he had to get evicted from some place, he went to another place. He did what he did best, and he tried to live the way he wanted to live to the very end. If he's dead now, I don't know. Could still very much be alive. I don't know if he's still a squatter, but that's what he was in the book in 1981. My most disliked person was John Williams, a man that only cared about himself more than anything else. I mean, seriously, there was other ways to do what you did to stop a movie from being filmed than to show that kind of propaganda. Ugh. It was told in the order the author thought was best. The first chapter was out of order, but the rest were in order. Or at least I think so. I have absolutely no clue if any of it was actually in order or not, chronologically. I can't tell you, because the author wrote the way he thought it should be best explained and best told. The background for the people were explained to the best of the author's ability, because he only had what the people he talked to told him. There are points of confusion, but nothing the author could have done to clear it up, because he did not have the details himself, or if he did, he never put it in the book, or I didn't catch it. I'm not sure why the book was called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, but the cover of the book reflected the title of the book very well. I mean, it's a garden, and it looks evil. But all I can really tell you, I don't understand the reasoning for the title, because the murder didn't take place in a garden. Although the voodoo woman did a lot of stuff in a cemetery, not in a garden. She did a lot of stuff in a cemetery for good and evil. What stood out as memorable was that John, the author, hung out with the voodoo woman willingly. At all times, he went to her more often than not to see what she had to say about Danny, whether or not Danny murdered himself or not, and Jim, and all that lovely good stuff, because she was trying to talk to the dead to see what Danny had to say, who did it, who didn't do it. You know, convoluted. It got convoluted in a way that it just got convoluted. Now, this next part, do not take what I say throughout this whole video as anything important. I should probably put that at the beginning. Anything that happens within this book, anything that I have read, happened in this book, and I cannot really explain it any other way than the way it happened, so forgive me. It's not my point of view, it's not the way I think, it's nothing personal to me. My favorite passage from the story, though, is I found myself having to explain that no, I was not a Nazi, and that I had used the flag to create a time warp in order to stop some very inconsiderate filmmakers. And the reason why it's my favorite is basically because he did something stupid. And I just like when people do stupid things, because I mean, like, why would you hang that type of flag at all? It's not a very good look for you. But I know you didn't care, Jim. I know you didn't. Because you just didn't care at all. And I guess because, I mean, the filmmakers weren't being a little inconsiderate, but I mean, like, you should have just asked them for money or just left them alone and let them do their business so they could get out of there. Because the longer you sat there and messed with them, the longer they were there. And that's really, I just rather they just go and be done with it. My favorite quote, it was the boy that done it. Minerva, the voodoo lady, believes the dead could influence the living. Like how I think that Danny influenced a lot of people actions, like Jim Williams' actions and everything. Interesting. What I thought about the ending of the book. The book was okay. The ending was okay, but it was just a weird book. I personally didn't enjoy it as much as other people would. What did the book remind me of? Nothing, because I normally don't read nonfiction at all. And this is where I'm going to end the spoiler review. It's shorter than the rest, I know. Sorry, I apologize, but I didn't enjoy it, so I didn't put as much effort into this as I should have because I don't like nonfiction books. Sorry. I'll see you next illusion.